Tonight, I'm happy to say that we have all 6 of the school district U-46 board candidates on the ballot for 4 open seats. We have Susan Kerr, Samreen Khan, Heather Manzella, Maureen Morris, Chanda Schwartz, and Kathleen Thommes. I want to say welcome to our candidates and thank you for agreeing to participate tonight. Each of the candidates will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves, and we're going to begin with Mrs. Kerr. And I'm going to say we are hearing that people were having a little bit of a hard time hearing, so use your outside voice and make sure your microphone is up close to you. Mrs. Kerr.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to the Elgin League of Women Voters, and thank you all for coming out tonight. My name is Sue Kerr. As you might be able to tell, I'm not originally from Illinois. I'm originally from Massachusetts, but I've lived in Illinois for over 40 years and in Bartlett for over 30 years. I am currently retired, but previously I worked as a computer programmer analyst. I have 3 children who graduated from U-46 high schools, 1 from Bartlett, 2 from South Elgin. They did graduate a number of years ago. It's a bit of a shock to realize my youngest is having his 10th reunion this year. I began my involvement in the district in 1993 when my daughter started kindergarten and continued my involvement up to the present time. Even though I homeschooled for 12 years, so sometimes I was involved when my kids weren't even in the schools. As I said, I began my involvement when my kids were in elementary school. I was part of the Wayne PTO. I helped run after-school programs. I did volunteer, like any parent, I did volunteering ranging from class parties to the fun fair. Eventually, I became more involved with the Community Advisory Council, CAC, where I held a variety of positions over the years, including chair of CAC and chair of some of the committees, including Curriculum Committee, Enrollment and Facilities, Finance, and Parent Group Network. As part of Enrollment and Facilities, I was involved with the high school boundaries for both South Elgin and Bartlett, and learned an awful lot about how the district operated, and this really helped prepare me for the school board. I was first elected to the board in 2015. I have served as board president since 2019. And I am very proud of what we've been able to accomplish the past 8 years. I think the district has improved immensely in both academically and financially, despite many challenges. So thank you very much again, and I look forward to this conversation.
Thank you. Ms. Khan, tell us about yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, the League of Women Voters, for inviting us here today. I am Samreen Khan. I am born and raised in Bartlett and Hanover Park. I attended Lake Park High School. I was the one house away from being part of U-46. I am a daughter of a professor. My father was a professor of biology at the University of Illinois, Chicago for about 45 years. We are all products of public institutions. So I have a child who is currently in Bartlett Elementary, and that sparked my interest in kind of being involved in school board and other activities with the school. My background, I have a background in government, and I was a senior advisor for former 2 administrations for previous 2 governors. I worked everything from legislation, policy directives, and much focus on constituent affairs, meeting with voters all across the state of Illinois, all socioeconomic levels, and bringing them all together and finding ways to work together for better solutions. I am very excited to be part of this discussion today, and it's really hard to go after Sue, who has had so many more accomplishments with the district and the school board. So we got tough shoes to fill here. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Manzella?
Hi, my name is Heather Manzella. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting us here tonight and for the Gail Borden Library hosting us. And I'd like to thank all of you for coming today. I am an Elgin resident, and I was really interested in serving our community to put children and families first. I'm running for school board because our students are failing, our tax dollars are not being spent effectively, and I want to ensure that the curriculum is appropriate and focused on improving academic life skills. I'm a product of Palatine Schools, District 15, and 211, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time in school, not just academically, but also in band, swimming, theater, student council, and a variety of other clubs. I continued my education with a bachelor's from St. Olaf College in music and a master's from National Louis University in elementary education. As a public educator since 1996, I'm dedicated to the success of our children. I've taught 7th grade language arts, 6th grade, preschool through 8th grade general music, extended school year for special needs children, day-to-day long-term substitute teacher in all subjects. I've taught at McHenry County College, and I've also worked with high school students after school for props and costumes with the theater. My experience in districts from Chicago Public Schools to Glenview have given me the opportunity to work with families from a variety of socioeconomic levels and to strengthen my appreciation for all cultures. Additionally, my community involvement has included church council, chancel choir director, community theater, North Shore Choral Society, and the Elgin Choral Union. Listening to parent and taxpayer concerns, being transparent, and communicating with the community are also aspects I'd like to improve. I believe that U-46 can do better, and I would like to be the voice of the community on the board.
Thank you. Next up is Ms. Morris.
Hello, sorry. My name is Maureen Morris, and I am a candidate for the Elgin School District U-46 Board of Education. Thank you for coming to the forum, and thank you to the League of Women Voters of the Elgin area for inviting me, and thank you to the Gale Borden Library for hosting the forum. My husband and I have been married for 33 years and residents of Streamwood for 26 years. All 4 of our children have graduated from the U-46 school district. Excuse me. I'm just a little bit nervous. Okay. I've been a stay-at-home mom, a paraprofessional in several special education classrooms, as well as a special education teacher. Currently, I am a DSP, and that means a direct support professional, working at a group home for adults with disabilities. I am concerned about the failing proficiency levels of students in the areas of ELA, which is English Language Arts and Math. As a school board member, I would require accountability for the proficiency levels of students. As a taxpayer, like yourselves, I would like to be reassured that our tax dollars that fund the school district are well spent and focusing on academics, especially English Language Arts and Math. I'm looking forward for the opportunity to become part of the Elgin School District U-46 Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Schwartz.
My name is Chanda Schwartz. I am seeking the position of U-46 school board member because I am passionate about serving and giving back to the community. My husband and I have lived in the district for over 21 years and have 2 students who attend U-46 schools. I started serving in the district to be a contributor and stay informed. I have enjoyed getting to know members of the community and serving alongside parents, community members, and staff. I want to bring my experience and service in the district to the school board, be a voice, and support the needs of our students, teachers, staff, and community. I am committed to service, moving our district forward, and fostering the conditions for student success. As a parent, I have volunteered in various roles throughout the district. I currently chair the U-46 Community Advisory Council, also known as the CAC, and previously served as CAC Vice Chair and Co-Chair of the CAC Specialized Student Services Committee. I also have experience serving as one of the 4 community co-chairs for Unite U-46 and as an operating board member for the Alignment Collaborative for Education. I understand how to navigate the ins and outs of the district, advocate for students with special needs, listen to feedback and concerns, work collaboratively to solve problems, and promote community engagement. I am collaborative, thoughtful, and objective in decision-making. I have professional experience in the areas of software engineering, project management, nonprofit administration, board governance, and university admissions. I believe that my volunteer and professional experience provides a foundation from which to contribute as a school board member. My highest priorities will be to build relationships with fellow board members, our interim superintendent, staff, teachers, parents, and the community. It will be important to collaborate with board members, continue to support our strategic plan, and monitor performance. There will also be decisions that stem from the work of addressing our aging facilities, transitioning sixth grade to middle school, and improving employee engagement, and also improving student outcomes. It starts with trust and transparency, and I am committed to being a collaborator and effective member of the school board. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we have Ms. Thommes.
Hi, my name is Kate Thommes. I am a longtime educator. My husband and I bought our first house in Elgin just over 20 years ago, and we have 3 children, one of whom has graduated from U-46 schools, the other 2 who are still a part of U-46. I myself has been an educator in middle school, high school, community college, community organizations, and nonprofits. I am very happy to have been on the board. I was elected in 2019, and it's really turned out to be one of my great passions and something that I am enjoying quite a bit. I came onto the board knowing quite a bit about the district. My first teaching job was in U-46 more than 20 years ago, and I still learned so much more from being on the board. I've learned more about who we are and what it means to be part of U-46, to be a part of Elgin, to be part of our local communities like Bartlett and Streamwood and Wayne and all of those. I grew up in the area. I grew up in Hoffman Estates, and I'm very proud to call Elgin home, and I'm very proud to be on the U-46 school board, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to continue to serve for another 4 years. Thank you, Gale Board and Library, for hosting us, which is one of my favorite places, and the League of Women Voters for hosting us tonight.
Thank you. Now we're going to ask the candidates for their views on 4 pre-selected topics that were given to them in advance. The 4 topics for the U-46 school board candidates are budget priorities and funding, catching up after COVID, serving students with diverse and special needs, and curriculum trends and decisions. We're going to begin with Ms. Kerr. What are your thoughts on budget priorities and funding? You have 2 minutes to share your views with us.
Thank you. So our budget priorities need to be focused on our students and giving them the resources they need to be successful. Obviously, that means well-qualified teachers. It means curriculum and resources that are up to date and challenging. It means technology. Technology is a vital part of our classrooms these days. And it may mean specialized equipment for some of our high school classes. For example, Beacon Academy, which is our media academy, needs very technical equipment for the kids in those programs. In addition, we have welding programs in the high school. We have automotive programs. All of these things need special equipment. We also need to give our staff the resources they need, including professional development and other supports that they may need, such as additional coaching. And a rather boring part of all this is we need to maintain our facilities. We have 57 schools plus 10 other buildings that range in age from 20 to 135 years old. And those things need roofs, they need boilers, they need repairs. In addition, we have about 350 buses which travel over 4 million miles a year. Those also need maintenance and replacement. And this is not something that comes cheap. I know if you followed us in the last year, you've seen we had to replace a roof at Elgin High School for $1 million. That's the sort of thing we have to consider. Finally, though, we have to do this without overburdening our residents. In the last 8 years, we have abated $48 million to our taxpayers. That means we've taken that off that they haven't had to pay. Evidence-based funding has also helped with our financing, and we've been able to build up our reserves. The $50 million we will be spending on converting Hawk Hollow to a middle school comes from our reserves. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Khan, what are your thoughts on budget priorities and funding?
Sure. Currently, District U-46 is in a very good fiscal position. In 2023, there was a revenue of $690 million and an expenditure of $696, which is a very close gap, and all of those line items have been very responsibly spent on students, classrooms, buildings, and staff. I would like to I have no issue, I'm sorry. Let me move this a little bit. So some of the priorities that I want to echo is our students. We are here to fight for our students, to be the voice for our students in the community, making sure they have the resources, the curriculum, education that they need to succeed in school and post-college, career preparedness, whatever that may be, whatever path they choose. So bringing all those resources, I think U-46 has done a tremendous job. We were part of the COVID Zoom classes that were occurring at home, even though my child was in preschool then, but we were all giving devices at home. We were given connectivity options, whatever IT support that we needed to make sure our kids were participating full-time and still receiving the education with no disruptions. So I am a huge advocate and very proud of the U-46 administration and the board for making sure our students were still part of it. Staff retention and salaries, huge. It's a very, nationwide there is a teacher's shortage. And there are some proposals at the federal government that I would really like to look into, which right now there is the American Teacher Act. It's a grant that's given through Congress. It would be going through a pass-through grant through our Illinois State Board of Education, which would raise the teacher's salary to $60,000 a year minimum. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Manzella. What are your views on budget priorities and funding?
I think that all of the things that have been mentioned by both Ms. Kerr and Ms. Khan are very important. I feel that it's important for us to invest our tax dollars wisely and effectively spend our money to support the children and families. That means that we need to have a safe and respectful environment for the students to learn in. We need to have more support for those students so that they can get their proficiency levels up to where they need to be. And we need to communicate with parents and make sure that they also have support in addition to the support that we provide for the staff and the teachers. I think that we need to support our parents, particularly in the area of helping their children, helping their students to be successful, because it's very difficult in this day and age to keep children focused with everything that we have as far as technology is concerned. We need to really spend that time making sure that the children are using the technology for their benefit and to help parents learn how to ensure that children are being respectful and responsible. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Morris. Give us your thoughts on budget priorities and funding.
Well, as a member of the school board, reviewing past budgets would be important to see where funding went and discussing with the members the outcome, whether or not certain programs were beneficial to the students' progress. This would help me in making fiscal decisions about the programs currently in place and proposed programs. The priority should be funding areas that will have significant positive impact on the students' learning.
I'm sorry, were you done?
Oh, yes. I was being concise.
Thank you. Next up is Ms. Schwartz. Budget priorities and funding.
Thank you. U-46 is in a better place financially. We are no longer operating in a deficit. We have reserves well over 20% reserves and a great financial rating. During the Unite U-46 work, one of the surprises that came up from our community engagement sessions were that people were actually surprised at how good a financial position the district is in. This provides an opportunity to address the disparities amongst our facilities in the district, support our students and staff and teachers. We have been steadily paying down bonds, and we are able to pay for the Hawk Hollow renovation to repurpose it to a middle school from our reserves. We are asking for a referendum that wouldn't affect our debt tax levy, resulting in a zero tax rate change to implement the changes that are needed. We need to continue to be good stewards over the district's finances and maintain our reserves, maintain our facilities while focusing on areas of improvement. I would also like us to continue looking at other funding areas such as grants and continue to utilize rebates such as energy rebates. Thank you.
Thank you. And the final word on budget priorities and funding goes to Ms. Thommes.
Oh, goodness, the final word, that feels like some pressure. I always find interesting questions that people ask about the budget and interesting information. One thing I always like to kind of lead with is our budget is well over 200 pages long. It is incredibly detailed, and it has all of these bits and pieces in it. And then there's usually a shorter kind of summary version that is listed. And I always encourage folks to go and take a look at that, because they are often surprised that we, in fact, have a balanced budget. We've been steadily and carefully saving money so that we can turn Hawk Hollow from an elementary school into a middle school. We have buildings that are over 100 years old. Those have to be our priority at this point, because they're wonderful, beautiful old buildings, but they're kind of falling apart. So we need to make sure that we get those built for our students. That's all part of our referendum. And our budget is complex, and we are incredibly lucky in U-46 that we have some really fabulous staff who are great at helping us understand that on the board. We need to fix our aging infrastructure. And then in terms of what we do within our buildings, we really have to continue to grow our CTE programs, our welding, our CNA, our autos, like Ms. Kerr referenced earlier. We also need to make sure that we're keeping up on the latest textbooks and opportunities. On Monday night at the board meeting, we were introduced to a program that's going to happen at Streamwood High School that is going to teach our students how to be entrepreneurs. They're going to create businesses, and it's amazing. These are wonderful ways to spend our budget, and we really need to get in there, and I always encourage the public to come and take a look. Our budget is very transparent. All of the pieces are there. And we work really hard to save our money so that we're ready to go for the future.
Thank you. The second topic tonight is catching up after COVID, and we'll begin with Ms. Khan.
Okay. So first, we need to acknowledge that the pandemic did create a tough environment for students, teachers, school personnel, and families, and that districts everywhere are working to recover from that still. Students and school personnel everywhere are still getting back to finding their new normal. Everyone experienced trauma during the pandemic, especially our students. We have to show patience and grace as we work toward the goal of getting students back to where they need to be and exceeding past that. COVID has been very hard, and as much as we've gone about 2 years into past the pandemic, there are still long-term repercussions from this, and a lot of it is social and emotional learning that many students were not being able to express and experience while they were at home. And this is district, and it's also statewide and nationwide. Re-engagement of students back in the classroom has been challenging for teachers, for staff, for administration, and for parents. And we've seen the drop in some of these test scores, and I'm going to focus more on the math and science. Compared to our state levels, our students at U-46 are performing a little bit under that. And I'm not blaming anyone, but I think there's a lot more that we can do. We as parents need to step up and maybe speak out for what are the resources that we need to bring to the classrooms to help our students do better. We need to work better with our administration staff to help address the teacher shortage that we have nationwide. And teachers are feeling overwhelmed right now too in the classrooms. There are many, many challenges right now that COVID has, and then these are all brand new, and we're all learning together, and it's still a long journey ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Manzella, what are your thoughts on catching up after COVID?
Well, I agree that it has been extremely difficult for everybody to get back into the classroom, and the kids are truly superstars for really trying to dive right back in. I think that what's really important is for us to be able to determine where each child is in each subject matter, because some of them did great in certain subjects when they were doing Zoom, and others they just were struggling. And so it's important for us to figure out exactly where the student is and meet them where they are. We need to establish a plan for each child so that they can reach mastery and then move on from there. It's also important for us to be able to provide support for the teachers so that they are able to do this for each student by making sure that we've got other adults who are available to be in the classroom. We need to have more adults per child. And I know that this means money, but we will need to figure out somehow, because our students are really the focus of our education.
Thank you. Ms. Morris, what is your perspective on catching up after COVID?
2020 disrupted the lives of us all. We could all share stories about the detrimental effects COVID had on our lives. For students, the schools were shut down. They had to attend class via remote. The benefits of in-person instruction with the interactions of the students and teachers were lost, and academics suffered greatly. But even before the onset of COVID, the proficiency levels in English, language arts, and math were already poor, based on the data gathered in 2019. The scores have fallen even more so after COVID, according to the data on the Illinois report card for 2022. We have our work cut out for us to raise the proficiency levels, specifically in math and English language arts. There is a need to look at programs in place and proposed to help the students gain the skills necessary to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schwartz, catching up after COVID.
We are still learning the effects of COVID on our students and staff. We need to recognize gaps and provide supports to help our students catch up academically and recover mentally. Many of our students made significant grade transitions from elementary to middle to high school, and high school to college from 2020 to 2022. Many of our students are still making the adjustments and working to recover and catch up. After isolation and learning model changes where some thrived online and others needed to be in person, our students need our solutions and support as well as our grace. Addressing teacher burnout, providing mental health and wellness supports, and figuring out additional solutions to address staff and teacher shortages is also needed. COVID also put a spotlight on some areas where the district was not meeting the needs of all students. During the pandemic, the district was able to provide equitable access to technology, internet, and food. The things that some of our students were dealing with pre-COVID were still there during the pandemic, in addition to the pandemic itself. We need to make sure our students also have access to guidance counselors for issues that they are dealing with inside and outside of school. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Thommes, catching up after COVID.
I think the most important thing that we learned during COVID is that no decision was easy. I don't think there was a single easy decision that any of us made during COVID. And we need to keep focusing on those lessons that we learned from our families, from our schools, from our children. One of the lessons that we learned that we've continued to work on is we provided, as a district, we provided 73 million meals. It was an incredibly large amount, and we're continuing that with free and reduced lunch for our kids. So that's been one way that we've been able to help them catch up. By continuing to make sure that they've got breakfast and they've got lunch so that they can focus on learning and focus on being in the classroom and focus on being back in school. We need to continue to support our teachers and our staff. I had 3 children in 3 different places in my house that my husband and I were trying to work from home and trying to manage them and help with their schoolwork. And some days we knocked it out of the park, and some days we fouled out immediately. And I think, I see some of you nodding. I can see that you feel that too. And I think that as a district, we need to continue to focus on those solid base hits, those solid moments where we are continuing to make progress. It's a giant problem. We are not going to fix any of it overnight. But I do think that we're doing a really great job of continuing to think outside of the box. We very quickly understood how valuable technology was, but we also understood very quickly that it wasn't everything. We continue to work on our programs, and my choice really is to continue to rely on the students and the teachers in U-46. We have some of the best staff anywhere. They are dedicated. They come to work every day, even though they are dragging themselves with the weight of everything. And we'll get through COVID and this time after it. We'll get through this time after COVID the same way we got through it, together.
Thank you. And Ms. Kerr, we'll give you the last word on catching up after COVID.
Okay, well, I think we're still catching up. There is absolutely no doubt that our staff and our students were negatively impacted by COVID. This is true not only of U-46, but districts throughout the state and the nation. To address some of the issues, we have used some of the federal money we've received for summer programs for students and for after-school programs, which are continuing. But it's still, it's still a struggle. One of our struggles is social emotional learning needs to be addressed better. That's something that's been made very apparent by COVID. Unfortunately, we're looking at staff shortages. We can't find social workers. We can't find substitute teachers. We can't find teachers in some cases. We can't find parapros. And that increases the stress that COVID has already caused because we have teachers who are having to take part of another classroom when a substitute can't be found. Or an administrator has to go into substitute, which means he or she is not doing the job in their building. So there are still issues we're dealing with. I am confident that things will get better, but it is still a challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. The next topic is serving students with diverse and special needs, and we're going to start with Ms. Manzella.
Thank you. Quite frankly, every student is an individual with special needs and diversity. There is no such thing as a normal child. There is no such thing as a common or average child. Every student comes from diverse experiences and diverse familial situations. For those who do have a greater need for physical or mental support, certainly need to be provided for. But I do think that it's important that we concentrate on children being individuals and meeting them wherever they are and helping them out. And so that does involve programs, that does involve counselors, and I do understand that there is a shortage. We need to do more to attract people to Elgin and let them know what a great community this is and make sure that they know how much support we can provide them within this district. We need to make sure that we've got things to help the people with physical needs so that they've got the ability to be mobile, that they've got accessibility in the bathrooms. And we need to make sure that those who have mental needs also have got support for them so that they are not floundering in their classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Morris, what are your views on serving students with diverse and special needs?
Well, serving students with special needs has been one of my roles for about 20 years. I have gained knowledge from each student that I worked with. As a board member,
Can you
oh,
speak
sorry.
up a little bit, please?
Okay, sorry. Serving students with special needs has been one of my roles for around 20 years. I gained knowledge from each student that I worked with. As a board member, I would bring my teaching experiences to help support the education of the students and advocate the best option to get the needed resources for each student's academic success. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schwartz, what are your thoughts on serving students with diverse and special needs?
As a parent of students with diverse and special needs, I know what it's like to sit in a room for an individualized education plan or IEP meeting and a domain meeting, trying to come up with the best solutions for students to thrive in the education setting. Sometimes those meetings have about 15 to 20 people in them, in my experience. Each student is different, whether they have an IEP, 504 plan or not. We want to make sure we are addressing the needs of these students from early childhood all the way through graduation and their transition from our district. Teacher and staff shortages also can affect gaps in services and impact education. It is important for parents to know what resources and services are out there for their students. Through my work with the CAC Specialized Student Services Committee, we work to inform parents on topics, issues of concern for their special needs child, and inform them on the IEP or 504 process. We need to make sure we are reaching all parents to ensure they know what resources and services are available to their students, how to advocate for their students, and continue to partner with them to meet their students' diverse and special needs. We need to also make sure our teachers and educational support professionals have what they need to support our students through resources, training, and other supports. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Thomas, what is your perspective on serving students with diverse and special needs?
Well, it's kind of my everyday. I have a son who is autistic, and he has been a part of the district since he was 3, and he's now 19 in our transition program. And U-46 has helped him be who he is. It's allowed him to be as successful as he possibly can, given his language needs and his sensory needs and his autism. And I want every kid in U-46 and our Specialized Student Services program to have those opportunities. And so very many of them do. We offer programs in Spanish. We offer support for families to help them come in and understand those IEPs and those 504s and all of the different acronyms that are involved in our district. And we don't say goodbye to those children when they're 18. We provide wonderful services for them like Center House and SWEP. And these kids are able to continue to grow and thrive. We also have amazing programs for our students who are deaf, who have visual acuity issues, who have emotional issues or behavior disorders. We work very hard to get these kids fully included and in the mainstream gen ed classrooms. I like to tell people when they're trying to decide where they want to send their kids to school, especially if they're dealing with an intellectual or developmental disability like my son, come to U-46. We have every kind of kid, so we can have every kind of classroom. We struggle to get enough teachers. We struggle to get enough paras. They're amazing people. I can't say enough about the teachers and the paras that we've worked with. And on the board, it has been incredibly gratifying to have the ability to do direct and simple things to support our students, to bring in more social workers, to bring in speech language pathologists, to bring in programs. We just approved of some manipulatives for our children. U-46 does a great job.
Thank you. Ms. Kerr, what is your perspective on serving students with diverse and special needs?
One of the advantages to being a large district is we can offer a large variety of programs to meet the needs of a large variety of students. Our special needs programs, for our special needs students, I think someone has mentioned, we have programs for autistic children, for children who are hard of hearing. We have programs in both English and Spanish, which is wonderful. One of the great things is since these programs are housed in our own schools, the students can all interact with each other. As Ms. Thomas said, we can have kids who are in a self-contained special ed classroom join gen ed kids for art or music. We also have preschool programs for children who may need that extra help at the beginning. And we have transition programs. We have wonderful transition programs for kids between the ages of 18 and 22 where they're taught life skills and how to work in a job. We have a center house where they're taught, which is just wonderful. And another diverse, thing we do is we have gifted programs beginning in, I believe, fourth grade for children. And we have them throughout the district. When they get to high school, they have an opportunity to choose from 5 different magnet academies. Each of our high school has one. If they don't choose that, we have career pathways, and we have all sorts of options for kids in high schools, from taking a lot of AP classes to going to more of a CTE, career tech ed type thing. So I think we try to meet the needs of most of our students as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Khan, we'll let you finish up serving students with diverse and special needs.
Sure, thank you. So the pandemic's negative impacts most heavily affected those who were vulnerable to begin with, such as youth with disabilities, racial and ethnic minorities, low-income youth, youth in immigrant households, youth involved with child welfare or juvenile justice systems, and homeless youth. Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, U-46 has children from all of these categories. Currently, 61% of students attending U-46 are economically disadvantaged. And why am I talking about that? Because I was part of this percent at one point. I am a single mother. I had a premature child who received early intervention at home. And because of the great programs that U-46 offers for children who are receiving early intervention at home, he was allowed to start preschool at the age of 3 for free, and was also provided an abundance of resources at his preschool. I cannot thank U-46 enough for the services that my child receives to catch up to everyone today in kindergarten. It's been an amazing opportunity, and it also kind of brings up another point when we're talking about diversity and in another level. U-46 is very, very diverse. 35% of our students are limited English proficient. U-46 has a dual language program, but it also has a bilingual program that my son was allowed to enroll in, and it provides many languages. His first language as an ELL was Urdu. Surprisingly, U-46 had this program at one of its elementary schools that he was allowed to participate. I chose to opt out of it just for geographical reasons, but it has everything for every student right now, and I'm very proud of what the board has accomplished in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Our fourth and final topic will be curriculum trends and decisions, and you may include in that who should make those decisions. We're going to begin with Ms. Morris.
In regard to the curriculum decisions, the priority of the school board should be measuring the effectiveness of the existing courses and policies and programs.
Can you speak up
Oh,
just a bit?
sorry, I keep backing away.
Just swallow the mic, you'll be good.
Sorry, okay, excuse me. All right, and sorry, there we go. In regard to the curriculum decisions, the priority of the school board should be measuring the effectiveness of the existing courses, policies, and programs, weighing the pros and cons, keeping the focus on academics. In regard to curriculum trends, parents need to be informed about what is being taught to their child. As a board member, I would advocate for their right to know as well as listening to their concerns. One trend in the curriculum that concerns me is social emotional learning, or SEL, which I am not in favor of and needs to be monitored closely, as well as all curriculum in the district, whether in place or proposed. No curriculum should be rushed to be implemented until we understand its full benefits for the students. Social emotional learning seems to be indoctrinating ideologies in the school setting where academics should be the priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schwartz, what are your views on curriculum trends and decisions?
The Illinois State Board of Education gives guidance on what we need to implement. We want to make sure we are serving our students with the most innovative curriculum, and we want to make sure our students are ready for whatever career path they choose once they exit high school. I'm excited about some of the recent curriculum recommendations that have been presented to the Board of Education. This past Monday, there was a presentation for a middle school science curriculum for 7th and 8th graders using next generation science standards, and 5 curriculum proposals from the Lead Academy at Streamwood High School, with courses including adding additional Academy integrated math courses, Lead Discover Contemporary World Issues where students can solve world problems, Business for Entrepreneurs, and I'm especially excited as a techie myself about the Apppreneurship course that they presented, where students will be able to create, develop, and market their own apps. We continue to incorporate technology into our curriculum. I appreciate that there is continued innovation and finding ways to expand our programs and bring forth innovative hands-on learning through curriculum. We have an award-winning dual language program in which my youngest son is a part of and started in kindergarten, and he's in 3rd grade now. Students in the dual language program have the opportunity to earn the seal of biliteracy when they graduate high school. and we continue to drive our curriculum through other programs such as U-46 Rising and Educational Pathways. Our curriculum and instruction department, along with our instructional council, puts in time and efforts to research the best curriculum for our students, and I'm excited about the recommendations being put forth to support student success and lifelong learning. I also want to mention that for the instructional council and the curriculum and instruction department, they bring on teachers from various grade levels, parents and community members to get their input, and they put a lot of time and research into our curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Thommes, your thoughts on curriculum trends and decisions?
Earlier, when I mentioned that the budget book is 200 pages long, our curriculum probably would be thousands upon thousands of pages long when it's done. And we do some amazingly wonderful things. We have the International Baccalaureate degree at Elgin High School, which allows the graduates of that high school in that program to take that diploma and use it for entry in any university in the world. That's amazing. There's only a handful of high schools in the area that even do something like that. We have, as Ms. Schwartz mentioned, and it's in the board meeting from Monday night. I recommend you go and watch it. The curriculum that's coming through from Streamwood High School is amazing. The science curriculum that's coming through is amazing. As I was listening, all I could think about was my 7th grade science class, which was nothing like what our 7th graders are going to be able to get, which is so exciting to us. Parents have the opportunity to interact with their kids' teachers via our Canvas program. They can pop on every day and see their kids' assignments if they so choose. And during pandemic, that was super important to a lot of us parents. We offer amazing CTE programs like auto welding. Our students can graduate high school with a basic nurse's aide position. They can take the test that summer and they can start at a well-paying job at one of our local healthcare facilities as a basic nurse, a certified nursing assistant, which is amazing that we can do that. We have programs to get them in vet tech license and more like that. We are even working with our own teachers to build our pipeline and our own staff to grow our teachers. We're paying for teachers to go, we're paying for staff to go and grow their own curriculum and become teachers as well. And we have wonderful experiences coming up for our curriculum. It's always in our board book. It's always available for everyone to learn all about. The presentations are always there, and the board even gets the opportunity to go into those digital resources and really examine. Our curriculum is amazing in U-46.
Thank you. Ms. Kerr, curriculum trends and decisions.
Okay, let me start by talking about how curriculum is developed in the district. Generally, we have a 7-year cycle for curriculum. In other words, elementary science, for example, middle school science is just getting reevaluated after 7 years. When a curriculum is adopted, it starts by having what they call a call to committee. We'll get together teachers in that field, whether it's an elementary grade level or a high school or middle school subject area, and they'll look through resources that are now available. As you can imagine, in this day and age, curriculum and resources change very quickly. And the state standards are changing. In fact, that's one reason why our science standards are changing. After they do make a decision about the type of curriculum, they will probably do a pilot on it to see how it works, or they may try several. Eventually, it will be brought before the instructional cabinet at the superintendent's level, and it will go before instructional council as well, which is made up of teachers, administrators, and community members. Their recommendation will then forward the decision on to the school board. I should also note that any parent who is not happy with the particular resource or curriculum that a child has in their classroom does have the ability to request an alternative. I don't have time to talk about all the wonderful curriculum things that are happening in the district. I think Kate, some people mentioned the LEAD Academy at Streamwood, the International Baccalaureate Program, U-46 Rising. We have had wonderful presentations. If you have a chance, watch last Monday's meeting and the presentation from some elementary schools which are working on U-46 Rising. We also have a dual credit program with ECC, which has really helped a number of our students not only to get associate's degree as well as high school diplomas, but also allowed others to take ECC classes in the high school so they can get college credit. So it's been a wonderful, I think we have wonderful programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Khan, Curriculum Trends and Decisions.
Thank you. I'm going to use a quote. Standardized test scores are not the only indicator of academic success. Standardized test scores work best when they serve as a flashlight on what works and what needs attention, not as a hammer. School should be a place where kids from different backgrounds learn to understand each other, see themselves representative in books and art, receive honest, complete education. It is important to have a curriculum that is diverse to make sure that every student is feeling involved and they are being represented. Currently, U-46 has an outstanding program. It's a Magnet Academy, an IB program for high school kids, and it's middle school academics and elementary math, science, and language programs are amazing, like everyone has been talking about right now. It's important to take this one step further, and how can we add a little bit more diversity in the curriculum, and so that there is more history being explained beyond just what's currently in the textbook. So I would like to explore some of these visions that I have to make sure that we have Asian American history, a little bit more African American history added in, and more global politics. So our children come out as global students. Sorry, I keep looking at the time and having to short my thoughts down. So that is one of my priorities that I want to bring, because I come from a background being diverse, living in different countries, growing up with a father as a professor and speaking multiple languages. And I want to make sure our students have that opportunity as well, without having to just be in a special program, but having this available just as an elective course or just mainstream curriculum. Thanks.
Thank you. We're going to wind up Curriculum Trends and Decisions with Ms. Manzella.
Thank you. I agree with Ms. Morris in saying that anytime that we have new curriculum, we do need to communicate with parents. The school board, with teacher input and based on student needs, are what needs to guide our curriculum. Unfortunately, we are failing our kids. According to the Illinois State Board of Education's most recent report card, of the 57 schools in U-46, only 4 are teaching students to proficiency levels in math, science, and English. This needs to change. We need to get back to the basics. We need to get back to reading, writing, and arithmetic. It is the responsibility of schools to work with parents to prepare children to become successful and contributing members of society. We need to ensure that we've got age-appropriate curriculum that focuses on improving not only academic skills, but life skills. So that needs to include critical thinking, problem solving, and respect. I think that if we focus on these things and making sure that our children are well-rounded and that they respect each other and they respect everyone in society, that's going to help our kids, more so than having SEL in a totally separate situation. We need to teach that organically throughout the day, because kids get it. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, we have a little bit more time than we had anticipated, so I'm going to give everybody a chance, if they want, to bring up something that was not included in our 4 topics. And don't get that deer in the headlights look. You don't have to, but I'm going to give you the opportunity. So beginning with Ms. Schwartz.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is increasing our community engagement. We do really well with community engagement. As chair of the Community Advisory Council, through the pandemic, we had to go to Zoom. And now that we're trying to go back hybrid, we've lost some membership. And the tie between the CAC and the district has been a strong tie. And I would love to see more parents and community members get involved, because this is an avenue where we get to make recommendations to the Board of Education, where we get to have input. A lot of the work that I've done has helped me not just advocate for my children in U-46, but also for all the kids in U-46. And so I would love to see more community and parent engagement with the different advisory councils. We have an African American Advisory Council, we have the Bilingual Parent Advisory Council, and we have the Community Advisory Council. And from those councils, there are other avenues for parents and community members to get involved with, like the Student and Safety group or the Instructional Council. And so there's a lot of avenues, as mentioned, with partnering with parents and community members to be able to give your input and meet with administrators and be in these meetings and get to be a part of that.
Thank you. Ms. Thommes, was there anything else you wanted to touch on besides our 4 topics?
I've been sitting here as Ms. Schwartz was speaking, trying to come up with something witty and insightful to say. And I guess I would just say that U-46 is an amazing district, and it is not perfect, but it has amazingly wonderful, great, challenging, beautiful pieces to it. And what we don't need to do is go in and start changing everything. What we need to do is take the foundation that's there, that we've worked to build, from our balanced budget, from our diversity of our curriculum, from our magnet programs, our magnet academies, our instructional pathways, our dual language program, our dual credit program. I should stop listing things because I'm going to forget something, as I forgot something during all of my other pieces. We have a wonderful foundation. What we need to do is continue to grow that, continue to pull our parents in, provide them opportunities to be involved, to encourage people to come to our board meetings. We are very transparent. It's all there in our board book. It's all of these pieces that are already there, open for families, community members, taxpayers to come and participate. Come to our Community Advisory Council, join their PTO. We have wonderful places and plenty of opportunities for folks to volunteer or become a para or become a teacher or become a social worker or become a school counselor in our district. And then just as a final note, thank everybody for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. It's incredibly nerve-wracking to sit up here, even though all of you are smiling and nodding. Thank you so much for your attention and your patience and your vote, and come and talk to us. We've always got more to say and more to tell you about.
Thank you. Ms. Kerr, is there anything you'd like to add?
Sure, just a couple of things. One is I am just amazed at how this district has progressed in the last 10, 20 years. As I said, I've been involved for almost 30 years. I remember times when we were laying off hundreds of teachers. I remember when we cut all the middle school sports. I remember when we shut down the swimming pools at the high schools, when we had class sizes of 30 to 35 in all of our elementaries. We had no social workers. We had no counselors in the middle schools. We couldn't do special programs. Everything was, you had to make big decisions, and then the state funding wasn't always reliable. So compared to that, I am just so pleased at how the district has advanced. Yes, we have ways to go. We have challenges, but I think we're up to meeting them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Khan, is there anything else you'd like to bring up?
A couple things. I want to second what Ms. Kerr just said. U-46 has done an amazing job, and there's a lot more that's still left to be done. One of the things that I, as a parent and as a community member, have been looking at has been the not so very large diversity in our administrators. My son is half Pakistani and half Black. I want our children to grow up to have people in places of power and authority to represent them, to look like them. I want them to walk into a classroom and see people who look like them as well. So making sure that we expand and talk to other colleges, universities, to see if there are ways to recruit teachers and administrators, but more to our district. I mean, we don't have the geographical diversity as a CPS school would have, because we are a little bit more in the suburbs, but that's not an excuse. We need to bring more diversity in our staff and our administrators for our children. The other thing is, I have a background in legislative government affairs, and the budget is balanced. I think this is the past couple years, U-46 has had an amazing budget, balancing no I mean, everything's been managed very well and has been very, very transparent. I would like to bring in more resources that we can find from the federal and state government to our district. There's billions of dollars available. There's, Biden just passed a bipartisan Safer Communities Act. There's more funding going into Title I schools. We have one Title I school in U-46, Harriet Gifford, and finding ways, working with our elected officials on the state and federal level to bring more of those resources in. So hopefully, as your new board member, I would be able to bring that to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Manzella, are there any other issues you'd like to touch on?
Well, I'd just like to touch on the fact that I believe in open communication and exchange of ideas, even when opinions are drastically different. Parents, children, teachers, support staff, administrators, and the community need to work together to focus on helping each student become the very best that they can be. We need to get the most qualified people in to help our kids. And you can contact me directly via my email, heather.manzella@protonmail.com, at any point in time with questions, concerns, anything that you would like to bring up. And please get out and vote on April 4th. Thank you.
And we'll end with Ms. Morris. What additional issue would you like to touch on?
I'll be very concise again. No, I just want to thank all of you for coming out, and I thank for all of the candidates. I never met you before, and so I appreciate all of your views, and I have learned something myself. All right, but thank you so much, Carol.
All right, thank you. In addition to the school board district U-46 candidates you've heard tonight, residents of the district will also be voting on a tax referendum. The text of the referendum is included on the LWVEA voter guide on our website. You can also go to the Kane County election website and read the text there. Voting early in person at permanent polling places begins on March 20th, and voting on Election Day at your regular assigned polling place will be on April 4th. If you plan to vote early, please note that different sites are open different hours, and there may be changes from previous years. You can check our information table at the door or the Kane County Elections website for current information on early voting sites. We hope that this candidate forum presented as a public service by the League of Women Voters has been helpful to you. We will also be hosting a Meet the Candidates Night for Gale Borden Library trustees on March 23rd at 6:30 upstairs in the Elgin Room. Recordings of these and other forums will be available on our website, lwvelginarea.org. The address is listed on the bottom of the sheet that you were given as you came in. It will be under voter guide for the 2023 consolidated election. That concludes tonight's Meet the Candidates Night. I want to thank the candidates for participating and the Gale Borden Library for allowing us to use this room and for recording the forum. I also want to thank the League members who work to provide this forum and the voters who take the time to watch these forums and learn about the candidates in order to make an informed choice. We hope that each and every one of you will vote and encourage your family, friends, and neighbors to do the same. Thank you all for coming, and good night, and let's give our candidates a hand.